Hello ladies, this video is to give you an idea of what we're doing for the read and react offense. Read, R-E-A-D, read and react. This is the offense that we're going to be working with this season, and there's a couple things you need to know about this offense in order for us to run it. So we have 5 players. This is how we always start out with our offense. 5 players. Notice nobody's in the middle. And in the house, we want to keep that clear as much as possible. And that is just so that we don't congest it. And we are allowing dribble, attacking at the hoop. Trying to get to the hoop by attacking it with our dribbling or with some passing. And I also want you to notice that this is our 3-point line, but this is also our read line, and that's going to be huge, huge, huge when we are trying to read our defense and deciding what decision to make based on where our defender is in front of us. And we will talk about that more in practice. If you notice, I made another line. This line is about 3 feet away from the 3-point line, the read line. Notice that this, in our offense, is where we want to be standing when we run our offense. We do not want to be on the 3-point line. And there's a couple reasons for that. I already told you one, because we're going to use the 3-point line as a line that helps us make decisions when it comes to how to take the defender that's defending us and what decision to make with the ball and without the ball. 2, we all know that at this age, there's a lot of defenders that are not going to play you up high tight, but more or less drop in a little bit. Okay, and there's a reason for that. So that if this offender beats this defender, they can step in to help. So we call those help defenders, help side. So I don't want to get too far into it, into the skills and the concepts around that. But this is important to understand as to why we are wanting to hang out farther away. We want to set up our offense about 3 feet away from the 3-point line. So if we started our offense on the 3-point line, what does that do to the middle of the court? Well, with the defenders there, it's going to shrink the spacing, right? And we want as much space as possible so that we can stretch the defense out so that we can find holes, gaps to get into the hoop. So we're going to start our offense about 3 feet or so outside the 3-point line. This is going to be huge. And that way, when the defenders sink in, they're not sinking in as there's still some gaps. It's not as congested. It's not as, we don't have all the defenders really packed in the middle. So it gives us some gaps, wider gaps to get into the hoop. So we're going to stay out here, and that's going to be important. And so when we practice our offense, I will lay down dots so that we get really familiar and develop a habit around staying way outside the 3-point line. All right, so in this read and react, we have specific spots that you play. All right, if you're gonna be up on top, it's this spot right here. It's not over here, not over here, not over here. It's right here. So you're either here. This player is gonna be out kind of more along the free throw line extended here. Here. All right, that's gonna be important. I'll have a dot there. This player is gonna be in the corner. And obviously, we want to try to play outside the 3-point line as much as possible. However, if you have 1 foot on the out-of-bounds line, you will be considered out of bounds if you touch the ball. So we need to be careful about that one. And this player out here is just mimicking this player in this position. So we'll put her right here. And this player is mimicking the opposite player on this side. So we'll put this player right here. So I will have dots so you know exactly where to go as we're rotating through. All right, so those are the first things to understand about this read and react. So when a player gets the ball, they have 3 opportunities. They have, not opportunities, 3 decisions. They can shoot the ball, they can dribble the ball, they can pass the ball. And what we're going to talk about is the rotation that happens when one of our players has the ball and decides to pass the ball or decides to dribble the ball. So let's go over passing first. Passing is pretty simple. So if the person with the ball decides to pass the ball one player away, then they automatically cut. And because they decide to pass the ball in this direction, when they cut away from the ball in the opposite direction. And then we fill, fill, and fill. So we moved in a circle rotation, and it was dependent on which way the player passed the ball, okay? So again, now 2 has the ball. She's gonna pass it in this direction. She's gonna immediately upon passing, she's going to cut. This person's going to fill over, 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 and this person's gonna cut out, away, cut away. Let's start with the person up on top again, and let's pass in this direction and cut in the opposite direction. So let's say she passes in this direction. She's going to immediately cut. This is called a basket cut because we are cutting to the basket all the way in a straight line. We're cutting. We're not cutting this way. We're not cutting this way. We're cutting right to the hoop. And then she's going to fill up, and she's going to cut away. So if you can start to see the movement that's happening when we decide to pass. So let's say 1 is going to pass to 2. She's going to immediately, upon passing, she's going to make a basket cut. 3 is going to fill, 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 and cut out. And if you notice, you are stopping at one of these dots, right? We're not stopping short of the dot. We're not stopping past the dot. We're stopping right at the dot. And that's going to be important. It's going to help us create the space in between here that we're going to need in order to drive to the hoop or in order to make passes. That is why these spaces on the court are going to be really important to the overall success of our offense. Now, the only position that makes it a little bit different in terms of the way that we cut is the corners, the corner here. So let's say 1 has the ball, she passes it up, she's gonna basket cut, but where does she go? Because we can't make the movement here, then where does 5 go? Because 4 has the ball, and 5's not gonna overlap and go, that just doesn't make sense, okay? So what we're gonna do is she's gonna cut in and cut back out in the same spot. So anytime you're in the corner, here or here, and you make a pass up, you cut in, you look for the ball, you cut out. So let's say she has the ball here. She decides to make a pass up. She's going to cut in and cut out. Otherwise, it's pass here. She's gonna cut, basket cut, fill, 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 out. She has the ball here. She's gonna make a pass to this direction. She's gonna immediately cut, fill, fill, cut out. So that is the movement that we have to create when one of our teammates decides to pass out in the perimeter like that, okay? Now, what if she decides to dribble? Well, there's 2 different things. If she decides to dribble at the hoop, then there's a different rotation or different movement that happens a little bit versus if she decides to dribble at a player, okay? So the first thing we're going to talk about is what happens if she decides to dribble to the hoop. Well, if the player decides, let's pretend this is the defender, this is the ball. If the player decides to dribble to this side of the defender, then what that does is that should spark a reaction for all other players to circle move. So because she decided to cut to the right of the player, that's going to determine the direction that we go. So 3 is going to circle this way. 4 is going to literally go from one end of the court to the other end of the court, fill, and then the 1 is to the hoop at this point. Let's say the 1 doesn't make it. She's going to come back here, and now she has her position to come back into, okay? So let's say, so all we're doing is we're following the direction that the dribbler decides to take the defender. So let's say this is the defender. Let's say the dribbler decides to dribble to the left, like this. Well, she's going in this direction, so that means we're going to rotate in that direction. So 5 fills up, 2 fills up, 4 sprints over, 3 sprints down. She can go ahead and make a layup. Let's say she finds congestion. She needs a way to back out. She backs out over here. This is her spot. All right. So when we have a dribbler that decides to dribble to the hoop, we just have to know what side she decided to dribble. Did she go on this side or did she go on this side of the defender? And that tells us in what rotation we move, okay? So